In the words of a great philosopher, only after disaster can we be resurrected. It's only after you've lost everything that you're free to do anything. If you don't know, this is from Tyler Durden, a character in the book and even better movie, Fight Club. Another quote that has truly changed my life is, "The things you own end up owning you." I think this quote is good as it is, but the meaning can be expanded to include so many other things. So for today, let's say the beliefs you have end up controlling you. So this video is the first in what will be a series of videos on deconstructing reality. So I will look at aspects of reality that are usually taken for granted and see what they really are. Now, the purpose is to free you from the control of incorrect beliefs. And when those beliefs are let go of, you will not put in new beliefs to take their place. Instead, you will learn how to accept that not knowing and see it for the freedom that it is. So in today's video, I will talk about change. If you're like most people, you probably never really looked into what change is. It's just something that happens. I mean, it's so obvious. What is there even to really look into? As we delve into change, you might be surprised at what we find. But we can start with a standard definition of change. So it is the act or process through which something becomes different. Sounds good? But let's break this down. First, change needs time. If there is no before or after, there's nothing to change from or to. But here, it already gets strange. But change needs time, but change can only happen now. I can never change something in the future or in the past. I have to do something, or if I have to do something tomorrow, I can't do that now. I have to wait for tomorrow to become to now to do that action. So change can only happen now, but then how can it be experienced? I think one explanation is described in Zeno's paradox of the arrow. So he states that if you looked at any moment in time, now, the arrow wouldn't be moving, like a picture taken of a moving car. So if at every moment the arrow isn't moving and you put all those moments together, how can the arrow ever move? Well, this starts with an assumption that time is made up of moments. I've often fallen into this trap of thinking of now as a set duration in time. But now isn't like that. There is no duration of now, because then you would find yourself caught in a strange loop. Because if now is a duration of time, how long is it? When is the start of now? When does now finish? I mean, they both have to be now. Falls apart. But this does bring up a puzzle about how change is experienced. When I see a car moving, where it was previously is no longer happening. That previous location of the car is not now. But then, how can I experience the change? Now, either there isn't any change being experienced, or my notion of now is incorrect. So the next point about change is that the thing before the change must be connected to the thing after the change. So if I had an apple on the counter and switched it with an orange, and then said, the apple has changed into an orange, you wouldn't believe me. However, if over many days and weeks the apple spoiled and became a brown, rotting mush, you would believe that the apple had changed into that. So here we can see also that space seems important. Since the brown, rotting mush is in the same place as the apple, it's easy to see that there's a connection to the apple. Now, in order for a thing to be connected to the changed thing, something has to remain of the changed thing. So this can be seen if I take an old car and replace every part with a new part, and then I say I've restored the car to new. It doesn't really work. In order for there to be a change, something of the old car must remain. If it is completely new, there's no way to know that the thing actually changed or that the new thing is a completely different thing. Also, a thing cannot change from within itself. This is a little harder to grasp. Now for this, let's use an example of a thing that is very simple and aware. So from the perspective of this thing, it cannot change. So this is true for a couple of reasons. First, I already showed that something must remain of the changed thing from before the change. Now, if in this example, it's one thing, then it can't change. Now, if I go from outside of the thing, there's no way to know if the before and the after thing is connected. But more importantly, from the perspective from inside, or the perspective of the thing, if it changes, it no longer exists. I mean, it might exist as a new thing, but there would be no continuation of experience. There couldn't be. For there to be a continuation of experience, there has to be something remaining from the before thing to after the change. But either that, or it's not actually one thing. Change can only be experienced outside of the thing being changed. Now, this is just a rephrasing of what I just said, but it's very important to understand that change can only be experienced from outside. Okay, but what if the thing is complicated and exists in many parts? Now, the parts could change, but they wouldn't be part of the experiencer of the change. Okay, what if the new thing was whole, but separated out a part, observed the change, and then became whole again with a new part? This doesn't get around the problem. As long as the change part is part of the whole, it can't be experienced. In order for the change to be experienced, the change part must be separated from the whole for the whole to experience the change. If the change part is part of the whole, there is just the whole. There is no experienced change. So change can only be experienced from the outside. But how is that change experienced? Okay, so let's look at a simple change. So a thing changes from blue to red. So let's say that the thing changes completely at some point in time. Now, since we are outside the change, we can see the complete change. Now, first, the thing must be either red or blue. So there's never a point in the change where there's nothing or no color. If there were no color, this is the equivalent to saying that there was a non-experience to experience. Okay, so the thing is either blue or red. Now, if we looked at it from the perspective of time, blue is past and red future. The change would look like this. Now, since there is never a point in time when it isn't blue or red, we could zoom in on the change from blue to red. And no matter how small the point in time was, the picture would always look the same. No matter how small the time or the scale of time, there will always be that exact line between blue and red. Okay, but what if there were a gradual change from blue to red, like in this picture? Where would the change occur? Here at no point is there a line or break between the colors. At any point, there is just one color. Now here, if we zoomed in on the scale, all we would see would be one color. There would be no point of change. Now there is no change as we zoom in, but when we pull back enough, we can see the change. We are able to experience the change because we are outside the thing changing. Also, we are the thing that continues. the observer is the connector between the before and the after. When we have a big enough perspective, we can observe the change. Now, change can only occur with there being an outside observer. Okay, but let's summarize. So change can only happen now. But what a thing changed from past and what it will change into future can't happen now. So when a thing changes now, both the past and the future are not there. So how can we say something has changed? There has to be a continuation. This means that a singular thing cannot change. Now, it can't change from an outside perspective, because if it's one thing and it changes, it's a completely different thing. There's nothing left of the thing before to say that it actually changed. And a singular thing can't change from the inside, or the perspective of the thing there'd be no change. It would no longer exist. Or it would exist as a completely new thing. So it couldn't experience change. So then this makes me question about myself. What does it mean if a singular thing cannot change? Can the I change? I mean, it seems to change, but is that true? I mean, many things have changed in my life. Actually, everything. My body is different. I have different likes and dislikes. My personality has changed. And the one thing that is constant is the feeling of I. There isn't a different I in childhood than the one now, but yet I still feel like I've changed. Well, if I look at how a singular thing can't change, I can understand better how I have changed. Now, those parts that have changed aren't me. Those are parts that are outside of me. And what I mean is that I can experience the change of them as the observer of them. So likes and dislikes can change and fall away. But I'm still here. My personality can completely change. But I'm still here. All the things that change don't seem to touch the I. So can the I actually change? Well, any attribute of the I that I can think of is experienced by the I, is experienced by me. Thus, it isn't me. I can see that preferences, personality traits, even my history can change, but I am still I. There's no attribute that I can give to I. What does that mean? The only thing that has no attributes is nothing. Okay, so I can say that I'm nothing, but I'm still here. There's still this. If I am nothing, I mean, that excludes the I having any shape or form. So there's no boundary to nothing, because a boundary is something. So do I exist as a body? Well, I've already seen that my body can change, but the I always remains the same. Also, I experience the body. The body is in my experience, not my experience is in the body. So where do I and the rest of the world begin? Now, if there is an I that has no attributes, including no boundary, and still there is this, which we call reality, can I really say that there are two things? I mean, there's just this reality, including the I, or I, including this reality. There is no separation. I am nothing, thus everything. Maybe I have to explain how nothing equals everything. So if I cannot be attributed any characteristics, qualities, or boundaries, then logically, I can be considered nothing. This is because anything that lacks attributes and boundaries does not have a distinct existence as an individual entity. Despite the I being nothing, there is still an experience of existence, indicating that there is some reality, some being. If I have no boundaries, then I is not separate from anything else. Without any boundaries, the distinction between I and everything else dissolves. Now, this matches up with what I talked about in my last video. Dreams reveal the true nature of experience. Now, there are dreams that are experienced as the dream. There's no separation between a dreamer and a dream. Further, in my video, The Reality of Dreams, I talked about how when dreams are examined, boundaries between the dream world and the waking world fall apart. They're both real. Now, in dreams, I am the dream, but sometimes I become the observer or the character in the dream. And so it would appear that the same thing is happening in the waking world. Bringing this all back to change, what does this mean for reality? I am this. Reality, the universe. And I don't change. But clearly things are changing, aren't they? So how can I reconcile all of this? So I'll talk about this in my next video and look at some possible explanations. And I'll look especially at the theory of the block universe. Until next time.